Thanks for joining me. You do not want to go to Vietnam without seeing this video. Hi, Michelle here from Travelling Over 60. Come join me on this adventure. Let's take a look at where we went. So we came in at Ho Chi Minh City or Saigon and we spent 2 nights there. We then caught an internal flight that took us into Da Nang Airport. We came down to Hoi An for 2 nights and then back up to Hue for 2 nights there. We caught another internal flight and we travelled up to Hanoi. After 2 nights in Hanoi, we travel across to Halong Bay, but they've had a typhoon go through and that was not meant to be. So we spend 2 nights in Quang Ninh, back to Hanoi, and then we take another flight that will take us down to Siem Reap. Okay, we're at the halfway check-in. So we finished the portion of Vietnam. Now we're going to come in just for a day at the end before we fly out home to Australia. So let's just do a recap of what we've found since we've been in Vietnam. My biggest thing I want to share with you is if you cannot do stairs, Vietnam is not the place for you. Everywhere we went, there was some sort of stairs, whether it be just 1 or 2 at a gateway, or it was 20 up to the top where a doorway to a palace or temple or something like that. So we found that to be a real hazard. Now I can do stairs, but I don't like to do too many because I've got a bit of a funny knee. But for those of you who cannot do stairs, I think the airports were great, the hotels were great. Maybe the historical places were the ones where we noticed that had lots of stairs. Shopping, when we went to the market, there was just a tiny stair, but really it's not for people who can't do stairs. Now let's talk about the shopping. You know how I love to shop. The shopping was great. The markets everywhere were great. But on this tour, we were go, go, go the whole time. There wasn't much time left for shopping. I can say from where we did stop and look at prices or buy things, I feel like the market in Ho Chi Minh was the best market that we saw. It had the same sort of pricing. I didn't find anything to be overly priced in that market, but you did get a couple of bargains at some of the other markets as we travelled, but we didn't have enough time to just shop and look. In one of the markets when I was shopping, I happened to just touch a shirt at the front and look at it, and the lady came running out and said to me, you buy. And I said, I haven't got time. She said, what size? And I just sang out my size to her and pointed to that shirt, but we kept walking. By the time I got to the bus, that lady had run up behind me and she said, I have it. So of course I bought it. But if you're planning on going there to shop, I don't think you're going to get the time on this tour unless you do one of their shopping freedom of choice tours, or when you come into the country or going out of the country. So we shopped the day that we arrived before we started our tour, and you haven't seen it yet, but when we were leaving, we shopped that last day as well. But that's coming up. You'll have to keep following to see that. Okay, next, let's talk about the accommodation. Well, blow my mind. I had no idea we would stay in the most beautiful hotels through Vietnam. I had myself prepared for their 5-star was probably not what we expect from a 5-star. I did think it would be less. Well, forget that. If you're thinking that, just forget it, because it was not that at all. The hotels were amazing. And the ones coming up in, or one that's coming up in Cambodia, I just was so taken aback by how beautiful the property was and the accommodation. So that's also coming up. You got to keep watching. Money. I know everybody wants to know about the money. We mainly used a credit card, but there were certain times when you're shopping in the markets, most of them did take credit card if they were big sales. But if you're just buying a little trinket, you really want to pay them with their own money, with cash. They did take American US dollars, but we didn't have any US dollars with us. We did have a little bit of Vietnamese money and a little bit of Cambodian money, and we just used it up when we were shopping at the markets. Now, if you use the US dollars there, more than likely you will get your change back in the Vietnamese money, which is the Vietnamese dong. Now, the other thing that we did as well, we did use their ATMs over there. Now, of course, we took the advice from our tour guides. We asked them, we do need to get a little bit of cash. Where should we go? Now, we only did it twice, but both times they just guided us to one that they felt was safe for us to use. And it was really quite easy. It asked you what language you wanted to do it in, and we just said English and then followed the prompts. Next up, food. Oh, the food over there. I'm still dreaming about the food. Now, you can get some fried foods. You can get Western food there if you want. But when in their country, I feel try as much as you can, although I'm not up for bugs. I didn't see bugs anywhere, but I'm not trying that in any country. The food we found was really fresh. There was a lot of vegetables that they used and their salads, and they eat soups, and all of them were just so beautiful. Although they also like beans and sweet beans as a dessert. I just did not like that. I just couldn't get used to that texture. Oh, and if you've been watching my videos, that ginger, oh boy, I had no idea that that was ginger. And if you haven't seen that video, maybe you should go back and watch some of the videos that I've already put out. Now, I mentioned briefly how busy we were. This tour was really on the go. We did get some time that was free time, but even when we had free time, we went straight out and did some shopping. Oh, did I mention I like to shop? And even sometimes when we had our free time, we were trying to find places to eat, to get our lunch. There was only a handful of times where our meals weren't included, but of course they give you free time and then you go and find your own meal. So it was really busy. Be prepared. If you're doing this tour, it's really, really draining. But you can sleep when you go home. And I was really glad that all the beds were so comfortable. We just went back to our room and crashed out until the next morning. Although I'm not such a good sleeper. It might have only been for 3 hours for me. Okay, next up, weather. It was hot. Now, we're from Australia, from Sydney, Australia, and a hot day is fine for us. We get up into the 40 degrees Celsius, so we were fine. The hottest I think we had was 35 degrees Celsius, but the humidity on some days was terrible. So keep that in mind. Now, the other thing that we did, while it was so very, very hot, we made sure we drank plenty of water. Water was included in our tour in the rooms, and we just kept filling up our water bottles and taking it with us. Now, the other thing was light, cool clothes. Hubby, he stayed in mainly shorts and a t-shirt all the time. And for me, I went between 3/4 pants and a t-shirt or a skirt and a top or a dress, just something light because it was so hot over there. And if you happen to have one, and I would do this next time, if you have a fan or something like that, we took wet towels with us, which you can wet and you shake them out, and then we just draped them around our neck, and that cooled us off. Well, while we were over there, we did see people had the neck fans. It just drapes around your neck and you turn it on. I've since bought one and I'm going to try it in my next tour. Oh, that's coming up. You'll have to wait for that. Let me know in the comments down below if you like our weather check-in and what we're wearing on the day. Does that help you in any way? And of course, it was so hot and so bright over there. Don't forget to bring that hat with you. And sunglasses if you're inclined to wear sunglasses. Okay, you probably don't want to hear this one, but we've talked about how hot it was and what we wore for hot weather. We also had quite a few days where it rained. On some days it poured. Now with APT, they did supply us with ponchos, but they were just those thin ponchos. I put my fingernail through them every time I put one on. So you might like to purchase a better quality one to bring with you. I've since bought some for my next trip. And the other thing that you really need to make sure you take is good walking shoes. You really need to make sure that you've walked in them before. Don't buy new shoes and then go over there and put new shoes on because you do a lot of walking. I think on one day I did look at my steps and I'd done something like 15,000 steps. Another day I'd done 18,000 steps. So even though we're often on coaches, your steps still add up. So keep in mind good walking shoes. And a bonus is to have them slip on. If you could get a really good tread on the bottom of a shoe and then have them just pull on, that would be great, because there was times where we had to get down and to undo our shoelaces, take our shoes off to go into their temples. Now, sometimes there was nowhere to sit. One place we sat on on the steps and we took our shoes off there and then went in, and then coming back out, we sat there and put them back on. But keep in mind, people are still using those steps, walking up and down to go in and out. So that's another bonus. If you can get a pair of pull-on shoes, they will probably be great. Okay, let's talk about crime. A few people have asked me, did we feel uncomfortable walking the streets when we weren't with the tour guide? And a couple of times we walked the streets at night, but we never felt uncomfortable. A couple of times when we were in the crowd, people pushing and shoving, I just made sure that I hung on to my bag a little bit tighter. I always make sure I wear it in the front. I never push it to the back. And if we're wearing our backpacks, we even put our backpacks on and wear at the front. I know, tourist. But we felt completely safe. Now, someone did mention to me, I do wear these chains. I wear them everywhere. And someone did mention to me that I should put them away and hide them under a shirt or take them off. Now, I don't like to take them off in case I leave it somewhere or lose them. So I did leave them on, and I just made sure I pulled my shirt up over the top so that they weren't visible to people. Now, one of the things that I did want to share with you is my experience in Vietnam could be very different to what you have. We were there during the time of Super Typhoon Yagi. Now, there was a lot of devastation. There was a lot of things we couldn't do. We had a lot of changes happen to us and our itinerary changed. So we just made the most of what our experience was. And hopefully if you get to travel to Vietnam, you do exactly the same. You just go with the flow and experience whatever happens on that day. And actually during your whole trip. But for us, this was our experience. Okay, here's my wasp sting check-in. Now, I just want to mention to you, I did have 3/4 pants on that particular day. I had a shirt over the top. The wasp landed on my clothes. I had put bug spray on, but for some reason that wasp, he stung me straight through my pants onto my thigh. Now, when it happened, I did scream in pain. And then I was very lucky that I had already taken an antihistamine that morning. So I take that for allergies in case there's pollen out that upsets me. I was just lucky I'd had it. The tour guide also had a spray, like in Australia we call it Stingos. It was just like that. It took the edge off the pain, but it was still very sore. And then I had some cream that I rubbed on it that was an antiseptic cream, and the bug spray that we use also has an antiseptic in it. Boy, you think I've got it covered? But I tell you, that sting lasted for the rest of the trip. It was constantly throbbing off and on and was very, very sore. And I felt comfortable that that was enough for just a little wasp sting. I can tell you, it was so painful. But we just continued on. You can't let these things ruin your holiday. Make sure you go prepared for whatever could happen. We prepare for sickness and things like that, but make sure you also take antihistamine. Thank goodness I had it. And even you might be inclined to have a look at taking some sort of antiseptic cream in case you are stung or bitten by something. And the other disappointing thing that we had happen was the cancellation of Halong Bay. All I can say to you about that is itineraries are going to change. I don't know of any of our trips where something hasn't changed. Now, sometimes it's only slightly. It might be a change of a restaurant or something simple like that. And other times it's days cancelled where you have to do something else. Remember, you're in a different country. You've never seen what you're seeing before. Well, for some of us. And if that's the case, just enjoy what you're seeing, and maybe you'll need to make another trip back to see what you've missed, which is what we will do. We will be back to have a look at what Halong Bay has to offer us. Now for our flights, I just want to talk about them briefly. I've done videos on our flights over, our transfer in Singapore. So if you want to see that, if you go and watch those, I hopefully have given you all the information you need. But just briefly, as this is our halfway check-in, our flights across, they were fine. We had our transfer. We transferred through Singapore. We found our way. There was plenty of signs. We got across into Ho Chi Minh City, which is also called Saigon. Most of the locals will call it Saigon. We were picked up at the airport. We got our fast track. Now that was well worth it. The fast track, they held a sign up. We went to the man with our name. We walked through. He took us straight up to a counter, and then we were put through really quickly, grabbed our suitcase, and then we were out of that airport within about 15 minutes in total. So that was really worth it. That was included with APT. But if you have to purchase it, I think it's well worth it. Now we have flights that were internal flights as well. I was so glad we had a tour guide with us because he knew exactly where we were going, what we were doing, what part of the airport we had to be in. And it was just so good to follow someone along. He walked us right up to the counter. Well, he came with us. So we just walked up to the counter with him. We went through, we checked our bags in. He took us round to the section where we sat and waited for our flights. And then when we got on the flights, he sat in his seat and we were scattered all over the plane because, of course, trying to get 35 seats or 40 seats all together was a bit much. But we were just scattered through the plane. And then we all just made our way off the plane at the destination and down to where the baggage claim is. Plenty of signs to see, or follow the people in front. And then we got down there, collected our suitcases, and then our tour guide was right there waiting for us. He showed us outside the airports to where the coaches were picking us up, and then we were transferred to our hotels. It was really easy, nothing to stress about. And even with my anxieties, I went through with a breeze, nothing to even worry about. Probably the worst thing about the flights is we went economy and We haven't flown economy for a long time. Most of our flights we do now, we do premium economy. But it was fine. Most of the flights were not very long, so it didn't really matter. So did we like Vietnam? We loved Vietnam. It was exhausting, but we loved it. Would we go back again? Well, we missed the whole of Halong Bay, and that was one of my highlights I wanted to see. So yes, one day we will be going back to Vietnam, to Halong Bay. Now, I hope that I've covered everything, but if I haven't, please ask down below in the comments. Just ask it as a question, and if I can answer it, I will. And if I don't know the answer and I can research it for you, I will. But I might even be able to tell you where you can research it. Like some things with the visa applications and that, you might just have to look up yourself. Because that depends on where you're coming from. For me, from Australia, it might be one way, but from the UK, it might be something different. And finally, don't forget, if you've liked that video, give me a thumbs up and help me out by subscribing to my channel if you haven't already done so. If you do both of those things, YouTube algorithm will pick up on it and send it out to more people. The more people that like my videos, the more people they send it out to. Both likes and subscribes cost you nothing, but they really do help me out. And if you are subscribed, I hope you've hit the notification bell as well. You only need to do that once when you first subscribe to my channel, and that way you'll get a notification on the little YouTube symbol every time I put out a video. That way you won't miss any of the videos. And if you've done all those things, I just thank you so much. Thank you for your support. And I'm hoping that this goes out to a lot more people and helps people travel. So thanks for staying to the end of my halfway check-in. And because you've done that, I'm going to tell you a secret. We've booked another trip, but I'm not going to tell you where it's to. You have to keep following along to find that out. My next video, we're in Cambodia. I can't wait to show you some of those videos. So join me on my adventure.